name is Tommy Kippax. You're watching Kippax Signature Homes, and in today's episode of the Haskell House Extension Series, we're getting stuck into the plasterboarding. I'll be showing you how to set everything out, mark up all your switches and sockets, dot and dab the walls, and work your way through the boarding process ready for plaster. Now there's quite a bit to think about before a single board goes on the wall, so I'll show you how I make sure all those important details end up exactly where they need to be. So grab yourselves a brew and let's get cracking. So in order to do this ceiling, I'm going to batten on top of the ceiling joist here, and then they'll fly through. I'll leave them long, and then when I laser this wall in a straight line, because it's all over the place when I'm dabbing, I can trim them back 12.5mm from the laser line to allow for my plasterboard. And because we haven't got much to dab there because of the insulation and the steel, rather than nogging out the steel, what I do is I just dab the top, and then where it bridges over the steel, then I can just screw into the end of these battens flying on, which will support it until the dab goes off. And then plasterboard over there, obviously it's going to be pink plasterboard because you've got to fireproof the steels. So yeah, at the moment I'm just setting up my saw and I'm just ripping down some, I didn't want it too skinny because they need to be quite strong, but I didn't want it too thick, so I've gone 22mm. So I'm just ripping some lengths down at 22mm. So I just thought I'd explain what I'm doing here. I've temporary screwed all the battens, so they shoot on past there, shoot on past there. Worked out all my spot centers and marked them, but now the steel's in level, so all those joists resting on there are right at that point, but the original ceiling joists that have been chucked onto blocks just willy-nilly is all over the place. So I don't know if you can see, I'm packing each one every 400. And it's diminishing as we go, so it's actually 12mm there, so it's 12mm out on this one joist from that side to that side, so this is going to take a while. Oh, and the easiest way to do it, rather than shine your laser on the bottom of the timber, you want to get yourself a block, look, so the bottom of the laser, see that? I've marked bottom of the laser, so if I drag that across here now, you see that? She stays consistently on that line there, because if you try and get the bottom, you get interference from all the other timbers and the rock pool if it's dropping down. I reckon that's a 5 or a 4. Nope, she's a 5. Right, we've got our screws, we've got a gun, we've got our props, we've got our other prop, boosh. So my balls the wrong way around, brilliant. Ding dong. Shabba dabba 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 ding dong. Right, After 3, Thomas, brace yourself. Can I reach my prop? I don't think so. This could be a problem, Tommy. Can I reach my props? No, I can't. Let's start again. Do you know what could have done with a go-go gadget arm then? Right, there we are. It's going to be in the way of me lifting my board now, isn't it? Brace yourself, Tommy. Oh, lift. Up we go. Up we go. Up we go. With my boards. Up you come, you sausage. Lost the edge of my bow. Oh, there she is. Stay there now. You bloody well stay there. Shakademas and pliers. It's got him wibbly wobbly. This one's the opposite, isn't it? Righty loosey, lefty tighty. Lefty tighty, righty loosey. Well, we're clearly in the wrong place there, but that's alright because we can tap her. Give her a little tappy. Right, lefty tighty, righty loosey. Every day impossible. Right, I think I can just maneuver it. What do you reckon? Oh, she looks good. Oh, she looks good. Don't you fall, alright? Right, stuck because of that. So if I go like that, I'm gonna have to bring this one back a bit more. Oh, yeah. There she is. Now, get a screw in there, Tommy. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true. Inside your ears. In a crowded place. I don't know what to do. But I know I need approval. Oh. Wait for a pop before. Which one's it gonna be? That's all your ears. In a crowded place. Is it true that dogs can't look up? I'm sure my dog looks up. I stand by here and I can get ready to grab this when she goes to fall. I've got one of those DeWalt collated screw guns, but I spoke to my mate about it actually. He said it depends on the screws you buy, but being the last of the big spenders, I went for the easy fix, screw fix version of the collated screws, and you set your depth and it works until you hit a hard bit of timber or a different density of timber, and then it sticks out. So you either have to keep adjusting your depth or you have to go around after and screw them anyway, so I just do it by hand now. But Chazzy swears that if you buy the DeWalt collated screws, you don't do that, so I'll try that one day, but not when I'm paying for them. Oh, sealed. Lovely and level. So we can get a few in there. Shabba-dabba-dabba-ding-dong, dabba-ding-dong, dabba-ding-dong, ding-dong. Sensitive trigger you have, mate. Itchy trigger finger ninja. Itchy trigger finger ninja. See, if that was my collated gun, then that would have been sticking out about an inch. It's not bad. Here's one I made earlier. Do with a new blade. Right, so that's as much as the normal plasterboarding we can do on that ceiling. So yeah, obviously now that just leaves us a nice strip of pink along there, strip of pink along there, and then that pink will carry on down each one of those steels as well. So I think my next plan of attack is to set out this wall here square to that one with the laser, and I'm going to mark the floor so I've got a visual datum for the start of the inside of my plasterboards, and then that will allow me then to just visually see on the floor where it needs to be at the bottom, and yeah, just plumb it up with a level. Do you know what I found out the other day as well? Yeah, I'm not talking about these Nick Pro things, pencils. I went to change the lead the other day. Check this out. They think of everything. Little cute sharpener in the end. Cool that, isn't it? Yeah, I need to mark the end of those battens. That'll be the face of the plasterboards, then they have to mark them where they are and then come back 12.5mm. And then that should run in line with the end of my battens. So when I dab the top, I can screw into the end of those battens to keep them up. We got 25 now, so that is just on the precipice. I want to mark both sides because these might not be coming off square, so I'll mark both sides of the laser line rather than just squaring the batten. Yeah, so when I'm marking my boards out on the wall, I start from a plumb datum, and then from that I can mark precisely from the edge of the board where the board's going to land to my sockets and face plates. That's what I'm doing now. We're lucky we've got a nice levels, a flow screed floor, so I just put a packer to keep us off the floor, and then just measure. Do a running dimension so it's nice and accurate. So we've got 444 to 518. 444 to 518. Scribble that on a drawing. So we're 444 518. And if I hold that on the laser, we've got 291 to 426. So running dimension this way is 291 to 426. And just check yourself, you should be about 135mm difference in that. So 291 plus 100 is 391 plus 35. Oh my gosh, it's bang on. It's 426. And you've got to be at least 1500 off the floor. 1510 by 1584. We've had to change your heart about this now. So that cable's not actually needed, I don't think. No, it's not, because we're having LEDs now, so there'll be a transformer in the top of the crown molded and the top of that paneling. So yeah, that'll just power the transformer, which will get hidden in the coving, and then the LED strip then will run to the end of the wall, so I can get rid of that cable, so I don't have to worry about that. Right, board number 3 is from that point 818 to 950. 818 to 950 that way, and then this way should be the same as the other one, but this expansion joint, it looks high there and low here, so I'm not too sure about that. 446 to 517. Right, this is going to take some thinking now, because it's quite a complex detail, this. Right. That cable there needs a lot of thought because there's quite a technical detail going on around here, so I'll try and explain it as best I can for you. So we've got a banker tool unit finishing just before the change in height, so we can do a scribed filler, flat plane filler first to the ceiling, and then a crown moulding out of LED coving, which will return to the wall there, and then the dresser units that carry on to there will be butted into the flat scribe section, the flat section of the scribe filler with the normal cornice to finish into that corner. And then this coving, LED coving, will follow round across the top of the corner larder, across the top of that, return into the wall there, then follow across here, and then it will become then, at this point, we're having paneling on this wall, and that will form the crown moulding on the top of the paneling, right? But to add to complications, that LED coving needs to drop from the ceiling at least 10 mil, I'd say, and which works perfectly because I'm doing a faux oak-faced MDF faux beam there to cover that steel, so it looks a bit like the oak porch. So if I use 9 or even 12 mil for the faux beam, that will leave that LED lighting strip gap, and it'll run round then tight to the oak there, and then that will be the continuation then into that wall there, butts into that wall. So I need to transfer this ceiling height around this corner first, which gives me the plasterboard level. Then we come down 12 mil, which gives me the top of coving height, and then we need to come below that with this cable in order to hide the transformer in the top of that coving. Measure off the board on the floor. 2275. Desmond 2275. Desmond 2275. Desmond 2275. Desmond 2275. And that is 440. 2275 up and then 440 across. Another thing I need to do is put the insulation on there before I get too carried away. And also, I think what we'll do is trim this down, because that can just show the corner. So we'll trim it down to 1100, and then that'll allow me, that'll be solid on the dab, and then it'll allow me to put a board catcher on there just to extend that. Board catcher on the corner, and then that'll be dabbed onto there, which will hold everything solid. So this is board number 1. So we got our running dimensions now. Rock climbing fingers. 818 to 950. 446 to 517. Time to mix some blob and daub. Yeah, before we start mixing the adhesive, it's best to, obviously I've marked the edge of my boards already, but mark the top, and then, yeah, mark the top so you know your dabs could go in. And also, you're meant to have a continuous dab around the perimeters. Not the perimeter of every board, but the perimeter of the ceiling, floor, and the 2 ends. I think it's for fire safety or something. I can't imagine it makes much difference, but who am I to argue? But what I do, at the end, when I've dabbed the first board, I usually just fill the back all the way up with a bit of adhesive, just so it's less likely to flex and crack, you know, if something knocks it or whatever. So yeah, I don't dab it solid first because it's a waste of dab. I just pack it out, fill it as I go along. All right, so I'm going to start mixing my adhesive. You just want to put your water in first, however much you think you can manage. I usually go knuckle deep. It doesn't really matter if you just mix more if you run out. Just mix it a bit at a time. Just don't mix too much so that it goes off, but you've got loads of working time, usually about 45 minutes-ish with this stuff, so don't panic. it won't go off. Right, so you want your bag of adhesive open, ready to go. You want a hawk, a trowel, bucket for mixing, clean water for cleaning. I get a couple of brushes just to clean your tools off with. I'll mix this up now. Depending on how far your dabs need to come out, it depends on how thick you need it. So this is about the only problem wall on this job. So it's going to be a bit thicker than usual, but it's not mental. As you get more used to it and more experience, you sort of know what consistency you need. So it's quite hard to tell someone exactly, but it wants to be sticky and not slump too much when you dab it on the wall. So that's what you're aiming for. Apologies for that, dudes. My camera died right in the middle of it, but I'll stick you on a time lapse now so you can see the rest of the process, because it'd be a bit boring in real time. Spend plenty of time getting your first one perfect, and then everything should run off that then. So I'm just about to start this wall now. Right, so I've just dry cut all my angles. So I'm just going to do another mix, but I just thought I'd say that on these like funny bits where you get a lot of wastage on a board, it's best to try and utilize all your offcuts. So I've got 3 little pieces there that I couldn't use anywhere else, so just a little tip there. And also you can see here I've marked where I got to cut it out. So when I'm plasterboarding, you want to work out your margins, what you're going to see. So I worked it out that when I cut it to there and put my 3mm bead on, when I line this with my prefabbed window surround with integrated sill, blah blah, architraves and whatnot, it just slots in and it should leave me, I've worked it out, 18mm thick, the lining, so it leaves me 25mm. So I've worked out where to get my 25mm margin all the way around, and on the bottom where you've got the weathered up stand, I've done 25mm showing from the flat of the start of the ovolo mold there, because if you did it 20mm from there, because of the molding, it'll look really skinny and weird. So I've allowed 25mm margin showing on the window once the window surrounds go in. So just thought I'd show you that. My battery is about to die, so I'll stick these on while it's charging and then put you on a time lapse for all this lot. Well, both my lasers have died, so yeah, so I need my laser to transfer that level across there. I'll show you a little tip when your door opening is bigger than 2.4. So it's got to sit on there, isn't it, by 125 mil. So when I board this column here, I'll just make the board bigger so it's got something to rest on to keep everything level and plumb. And then you can just trim it off after. So yeah, I'm just going to get all these boards cut and measured, all my reveals worked out and ready to dab, and then hopefully my laser will have charged. Is it working? I reckon, yeah, I think this cable's a bit dodgy, to be honest. Just thought I'd run through a couple of little things to look out for when you're boarding, especially with reveals and stuff. So I've come up from that corner to the door. Like I said, this is going to be a prefabbed lining that goes in there. I might incorporate a bit of a shaker panel in there because it's quite deep, that one. And then I started from this wall in, but if you start at two different sides of a door, it's very easy to completely lose the line going through there, and you end up either a different distance away or on the wonk. So I squared that corner, so then I got my laser in the middle of the door here and shone it so it skimmed all the face of this and cast my line through there. So I had the starting point at the bottom to plumb up then. Another thing is always check these distances from frames to there, and it should be the same all the way down. So when our lining drops in, it'll be absolutely bob on. Same with the doors, make sure that's all the same as well. Another little tip is when you're boarding up to a vaulted ceilings, obviously you can put packers on, but it's very difficult to accurately measure. So all these have been cut the same, and I leave myself a tolerance, because if you start trying to whack your boards back and it's catching on the top because you haven't left quite enough room, and you've got all dabs stuck to the back of your board already, and you try and take it off to cut it, you end up in a mess. So what I do is I leave myself a good tolerance at the top, and obviously it'll be the rafters slightly undulating. So what I do is I take that out in the plastering, I put a stop bead, a level stop bead across there, and then you can feather your plaster into that stop bead, and then it gives the illusion of a perfectly straight line. So that's my little tips for the day. I don't think there's anything else. So after a load of umming and ahhing about where we're going to get the kitchen from, I priced them from my suppliers, and it was pretty tasty, I gotta be honest. So I might have to find a new supplier, you know, because I then looked at DIY kitchens and did a design on there, and oh my god, the price difference is unreal. And my mate's put one in his house, and I looked at the quality, it is pretty good, and we've been sent samples, and that's pretty good. So customers decided to go there, which is fine. I don't care where they get the kitchen from, but I was going to come in Bank Holiday Monday, but then my missus was cracking the whip at home to do my house, so I did a bit on my house, but I had a message saying, gone away with the family to the DIY kitchen showroom. He was loving it. He said it was so good, he had to go back for a second day and left the family to their own devices. But he said, we've got a couple of changes, and I was like, no. But they weren't that bad. It just involves, let me show you. They've decided to do away with the American fridge freezer, which was going central to the island and central to that window, and now they're going to have a integrated tall freezer, then the two oven bays in a row next to each other when they were one by there and one by there, with the fridge in the middle, then another integrated fridge. So there's a couple of alterations to do to the electrics before I can board this wall behind me. It's nothing major. This here was the existing cable that fed the understairs cupboard, and it was spurred off the socket that used to dangle down here, the old one. So what I need to do is, we no longer need this here, which was going to be a socket in the bottom of a ladder. I can't even remember why we put it there now. But yeah, I need to run this over to here, joint onto here, so that becomes part of our ring into the cupboard. Then I need to chuck a cable through there to the bottom cabinet of the oven housing in order to put a socket for the freezer. And then from there, we're going into, so that's oven housing number 2. And then this is a fridge. So into oven housing number 2, so we'll pop it out there, and then that cable there is our ring going back to the board. So it's pretty simple really. And we've just realized we need a permanent live and isolation switch for the larder sensor lights, the big pull-out larder sensor lights. And I panicked a minute because I thought, well, not panicked, but I thought I'm going to have to take all that down, blah de blah. But I forgot. We've got a permanent live here that I've been using as a makeshift testing switch, and it just so happens bang in the right place. So I'll take that live feed for the old lighting, chuck it into an isolation switch there, and then from the isolation switch there can run behind there and pop out just above unit height so we can connect on. It might need a transformer. I can't remember if you can get them in 240, but the transformer can go there either way. So happy days. We're going to tackle this pink now, I think. So I just got to move all these boards because typically I didn't separate them. I put them on the bottom. Right, there's a tricky bit coming up now, so I thought I'd show you what I'm up to, because it's pickling my brain. No, it's not really, it's just annoying. The idea behind this is those ends of battens facing this way are the ones that I did to level that ceiling. I've screwed a batten all the way along there to firm these up and give me a fixing, so I'm not fixing into the end grain of the battens. I've then propped this so that this is perfectly level. I've then shot that through. I've put in timbers into the web of the steel across there, so that's all level and true. I've taped the tape back over where I slit, and now what I'm trying to work out is, so I've cut my board for up there, which finishes there, and now I need to work out this one here. So what I'm doing is I've set up my laser so it runs true with this edge all the way along. You can't really see it, I don't think. No, you can't, but it's there. You see it by ear, look. So that will represent the back edge of my plasterboard. So I'm going to mark that, come 12.5mm that way, off 2 points of that line, and join the dots and see where it intersects the hip detail. And then I'll plumb up from my pencil mark to the ceiling, and then measure from the point where it intersects the front face of the plasterboard to that mark over there, and then just rasp a bit of a bevel on the back, because wherever that lands will determine where I set out the depth of this wall for that run of plasterboard going that way, so that the 2 points intersect perfectly in the hip there. I hope you understand that. Something that does annoy me though is, why don't they sell? They might do, but whenever you ask for square edge fireboard, it always comes tapered. So you either cut the taper off, or you put it somewhere where you can just dub it out with plasterboard adhesive. So typically that's going to be at the top, where I'm going to look wrong to start with until I dub it out, because it's not going to intersect with the hip. Or should I just cut it off? I don't know. Right, I've just got a problem now I've got to get over. So that is the front face of my plasterboard, intersects there, but obviously this is a bastard hip, isn't it?
so the lower pitch roof projects further off the wall. And then this, obviously I got to take these bricks out, but obviously that is the face then of this. And have I got enough room behind the boards in order to dab that and be plumb, but also get past the edge of this steel? Oh, I think that's a problem for tomorrow. Right, I've slept on that problem and I've decided to ignore it for now. Move all the normal sheets back onto the floor and carry on bolting the walls until I can, I know what I've got to do, but I'm not sure which one is the lesser of two evils. Now this corner is pissed. It kicks into there. I've got to get past this steel. It's going to get dabbed onto here, shoot past, and then plasterboard there, batten on the end, and that will pull this plumb when it comes to it. So I've set my laser equidistant, 350mm off there, 350mm off there, and got my right angle up. So I've marked the floor now all the way to where it comes to the corner there. Check that my plasterboard will sit plumb when it goes across here. It's tight, but it's all right. So we've got pretty thick dabs on this wall, but needs must. So I'll get on with that. Right, cut all my boards for this corner. Done my little pinky bit. I just got to screw a batten on flush with the end of this and rasp the edge because that looks rough as a badger's what's it. I'll get mixing. Right, well, I'm on my final mix of dab. Even done the annoying one. So all I've left myself with was that dilemma up there. So I'll show you how I've conquered it, and a little bit naughty, but come on. So I set my laser up there to shoot through that pencil line, if you can see it, and seeing where it landed over there, which has given me the line to cut my battens to, and you'll notice that it's just inside the steel, but the only parts it's fouling on the steel are the two tops of the eye sections. So I just cannot bring myself to fit these out plumb. It's just not an option, and I cannot, absolutely, with all the effort I've gone to get this to line through perfectly in the corners, I am not willing to come off there so it doesn't intersect the hip. So, can't see it now because I've just been working on top of it, but this board here I've cut ready. I've knifed 2 grooves, and I'm going to get an old blunt cutter on my router, and I'm just going to freehand route about 5mm deep. I've worked it out straight across the 2 score marks, and that should, in theory, drop lovely and plumb on that line. So here goes nothing. I'll go and get my router. Right, so we're finally boarded, thank God. Managed to solve that little issue, so it's all looking plumb and good. So just to recap then on your boarding, if I missed anything out, so when you're dotting and dabbing, you just need solid dabs around the perimeter of the room, not every board, just the rooms and your openings. Don't worry if you've forgotten, because you can go around and fill them afterwards if you want, because it doesn't affect the board. It's just a fire break, it is, just to stop air flowing through. So yeah, that's about it really. Oh, and make sure they're plumb and flat, because it just makes everything further down the line easier, okay? It's really important.
So that's a wrap. Don't forget to tune in to the next episode when I'll be showing you how to prep this plasterboard ready for skimming and some tips and tricks for your plastering if you wanted to have a go yourself. Bye for now.